They say you can forgive anyone until you see your family bleeding on the asphalt. That morning, I was in my office when the phone rang. The officer's voice was calm, almost gentle, but the words shattered everything. "Mr. Taylor, your wife and daughter have been in an accident." I remember running through the hallway, my hands shaking, my heart refusing to believe. When I reached the hospital, the truth hit harder than any crash could. The driver wasn't a stranger. It was my daughter's birth parents, the people who gave her life and nearly took ours. My name is Samuel Taylor. I'm 48 years old. For 12 years I've been a father to two girls we adopted, Emily and Alicia. I thought happiness was something permanent, something safe, until the day that letter came. It was a calm morning. Claire was humming in the kitchen. The girls were teasing each other about breakfast. I was reading the paper, smiling without knowing why. Then Emily rushed in, holding an envelope. Her hands trembled. "Dad, it's from Springfield, from them." She opened it before I could speak. Her voice broke as she read. "They said they're sorry. They've changed. They just want to see me once." Claire went still. Alicia frowned. "Don't," she said quietly. "There's something wrong with this." Emily turned, eyes bright with fragile hope. "You don't know them, Alicia. People can change." I tried to calm them. Sometimes people need to be forgiven, even when they don't deserve it. That night, I sat alone, the letter on my desk. The handwriting was shaky, desperate. I wanted to believe for her. Claire touched my shoulder. "She's old enough to choose, Sam." I nodded, but my chest felt heavy. I knew this could break her, and still, I said yes. The next morning, Emily looked lighter, as if she'd found something she'd lost long ago. I watched her laugh, not realizing that the door she just opened would soon let the darkness in. They came on a quiet Saturday afternoon. David and Marlene Reed, the names I had only seen in old adoption papers, stood on our porch, smiling politely, holding a pie and a bouquet of white lilies. They looked ordinary, almost harmless, the kind of people you wouldn't think twice about. Emily froze, her eyes filling with tears. Then she ran forward and threw her arms around Marlene. "Mom," she whispered, her voice breaking. Claire pressed a hand to her mouth, holding back tears. I felt something shift inside me. Pride, fear, confusion, all at once. Alicia stood apart, her arms folded, watching with quiet suspicion. She didn't move, didn't smile. That evening we had dinner together. The air was heavy, full of things none of us dared to say. David spoke first, his tone rehearsed, gentle. "We've been sober for 6 years," he said. "We just want a chance to be part of her life again." Marlene added softly, "We've changed. We're not who we were." Emily smiled faintly, still clutching her mother's hand. Claire's eyes softened. I wanted to believe them, for Emily's sake. "Everyone deserves a second chance," I said quietly. Alicia's fork hit the plate. "Some people don't," she murmured. The room fell silent. Emily glared. "Stop it, Alicia. You don't know them." "I know what fake looks like," she shot back, then stood and left the table. Later that night, I found her by the window. "You can't keep treating them like criminals," I said. She turned, eyes steady. "And you can't keep pretending everyone's good, Dad." When the house grew quiet, I went upstairs to turn off the lights. Passing my study, I stopped. Through the glass reflection, I saw David inside, standing near my desk, staring at the framed photo of my family. He looked up when he noticed me. "Sorry," he said lightly. "I was just looking for the restroom." I nodded, forcing a smile. But as he walked past, a chill settled in my chest, the kind that whispers something is wrong, even when your mind refuses to hear it. A week later, the house no longer felt like ours. Marlene had made herself at home, borrowing Claire's perfume, trying on her dresses in front of the mirror as if she were rehearsing for a life that wasn't hers. Claire laughed it off. She always chose kindness first, but I saw the flicker of unease in her eyes. David spent most of his time in my study. At first it was small talk, then came the questions, too specific to be harmless. "So Samuel, your company's been in the papers. Must be doing well, huh? Big contracts?" I smiled politely. "We manage." He leaned forward. "You've built quite a future for your girls. That kind of success. It must come with a big insurance plan, right? I laughed it off, but the air between us turned cold. Emily, meanwhile, glowed. She followed them everywhere. Breakfast, afternoon walks, long talks on the porch. To her, they were proof that love could return. She didn't notice how their smiles didn't always reach their eyes. That night, I overheard voices from upstairs, sharp, low, like thunder behind a closed door. Alicia's voice came first. "They don't care about you, Emily. They care about what you have." Emily shot back, hurt and furious. "You talk like everyone's rotten. They're my parents." "They were your parents," Alicia snapped, "and now they're strangers wearing old names." "Stop," Emily shouted. "Not everyone's like you, scared to trust anyone." The room went silent after that. I stood outside their door, the weight of their words pressing on my chest. Later, I sat alone downstairs, the clock ticking through the dark. I could hear laughter faintly from the guest room, forced, hollow laughter. I wanted to believe we were safe, but deep down, I already knew something had started to unravel, and I was too afraid to name it. It started with a smile that didn't quite reach their eyes. David and Marlene came into the living room one evening, holding a travel brochure and speaking with rehearsed warmth. "We thought," David began, "that we could all go out for a little trip this weekend, just a quiet picnic near Springfield, as a way to thank you both for everything you've done for Emily." Emily's face lit up instantly. "That sounds perfect. It'll be good for everyone." Claire hesitated. "That's thoughtful, but we have work on Monday." Marlene leaned closer, her tone sweet but insistent. "Just a day or two. You've all been so generous. Let us give something back." I looked at Emily's eager face and felt my resolve softening. She hadn't looked this happy in years. But from the corner of the room, Alicia's voice cut in, steady, cold. "No, you shouldn't go." Everyone turned toward her. Emily frowned. "Why not?" Alicia crossed her arms. "Because it feels wrong. They show up out of nowhere and now they want a weekend away. I don't like it." David chuckled, pretending not to be offended. "Teenagers, huh? Always suspicious." Alicia didn't blink. "Sometimes, for a reason." The silence stretched. I felt caught between them, between Emily's faith and Alicia's fear. Then Alicia added quietly, almost like an afterthought, "Besides, Dad, you have that meeting Saturday morning, remember?" I looked at her, surprised, and forced a laugh. "You're right, kiddo, I do." David's smile faltered for just a second, too quick for anyone else to see. We decided not to go. Emily sulked, Claire tried to smooth things over, and David and Marlene politely nodded, saying they understood. But when they left that night, I watched through the window as they walked to their car. Marlene glanced back at the house once, her expression flat, unreadable. David leaned close to her, whispered something I couldn't hear. Then they both smiled, not the kind of smile you give family, but the kind you wear when the plan is already in motion. That morning, I felt strangely tired, as if something heavy pressed on my chest. Claire offered to drive Emily to the office in my place. I kissed her goodbye, told them to be careful. The door closed, and the house fell quiet again. An hour later, the phone rang. I didn't answer right away. Then it rang again, louder, insistent. I picked up. "Mr. Taylor," a voice said, calm and distant, "your wife and daughter have been in an accident." Everything blurred. The drive to the hospital felt endless. My hands shook so badly I could barely turn the key. I kept telling myself they'd be fine. It was a misunderstanding. When I arrived, the smell of antiseptic hit me first, sharp and cold. Claire was sitting on a stretcher, blood on her arm, eyes dazed but alive. Emily was in the next room, trembling, a bruise on her face, whispering my name. "Sam," Claire's voice cracked. "It wasn't an accident." The door opened and a police officer entered, Detective Miller. His tone was steady, almost too calm. "We've identified the driver," he said. "A red sedan. It was registered to David and Marlene Reed." For a moment I couldn't speak. I stared at him, waiting for him to take it back. "You're saying—" I managed to whisper. He nodded. "I'm sorry. The investigation shows it was deliberate." Something inside me went silent. My pulse, my breath, everything stopped. I looked at Emily through the window. my little girl, shaking in a hospital gown, still calling me Dad. And I realized the people who gave her life had tried to take ours. The world didn't crash all at once. It just tilted, slowly, until everything I thought I knew about love, forgiveness, and family no longer stood upright. Detective Miller laid the evidence out on the table like pieces of a nightmare. Photographs, reports. A printed message glowing on a phone screen. The red sedan's license plate matched. The security camera showed the car following Claire's vehicle minutes before the crash. And then there was the message, short, brutal, undeniable. Make it look like an accident. I stared at it until the words blurred. I wanted to believe there was a mistake, that someone had stolen their car, that it wasn't them. But there were fingerprints, phone records, everything. I whispered, "They tried to kill us. To kill her." Miller nodded slowly. "They thought you and your wife were in the car. If your daughter hadn't been there, they might have disappeared already." Later that afternoon, Emily asked to see them. Against my better judgment, the police allowed it, a controlled meeting at the county jail. I watched from the other side of the glass as she sat down, pale and shaking. David was brought in first, handcuffed, eyes dull. Marlene wouldn't meet her gaze. Emily leaned toward the glass. "Why?" her voice cracked. "You said you wanted to make things right. Why would you do this?" David's jaw tightened. For a moment, he said nothing. Then, through gritted teeth, the truth spilled out like poison. "It was supposed to be them," he said. "Not you. We just needed what was ours." Emily froze. The words hit her harder than the crash ever could. She shook her head, whispering, "I was never yours." Her body went limp, collapsing to the floor as officers rushed in. I ran forward, but they stopped me at the door. Through the glass, I saw her lying there, tears mixing with the dust on the cold tiles. And in that moment, all the illusions we'd tried to hold on to, about forgiveness, about redemption, shattered completely. After the trial, the story moved through the city like a storm. Newspapers printed the photo of David and Marlene in handcuffs, the headlines bold and merciless. At home, silence became our new language. Emily barely left her room. Her laughter, once so bright, had vanished, replaced by long nights of muffled sobs through the walls. Alicia stayed close to her sister, bringing tea she never drank, sitting beside her without a word. Claire moved slowly, but was healing, the bruises on her arm fading faster than the fear in her eyes. Sometimes, I'd find Emily sitting at the kitchen table, staring at nothing. When I tried to speak, she would whisper first, "Dad, I'm sorry for believing them." I sat beside her, my voice shaking. "You don't have to be sorry, sweetheart. You believed in good. That's not weakness. That's what makes you human." Her eyes filled again. "But I almost destroyed everything." "No," I said quietly. "They did. You just wanted to love them." She leaned against me, trembling. For the first time in weeks, I felt her weight. Small, real, alive. Claire stood by the doorway watching us, tears sliding down her face, but with a faint, grateful smile. Life didn't return to what it was, but slowly, the house began to breathe again. Alicia's laughter came back first, short, cautious, like testing sunlight after rain. Claire started cooking on Sundays, and Emily, though still quiet, began painting again. Small strokes of color that seemed to rebuild something words couldn't. I knew we would never erase what happened, but as I looked at my family, fragile, scarred, still standing, I realized survival itself was a kind of grace. The light that evening was soft, the kind that made everything look gentler than it really was. The table was set, nothing fancy, just Claire's roast chicken and the smell of herbs filling the air. Emily sat beside Alicia, laughing at something small, something ordinary. It had been a long time since laughter sounded real in this house. Claire's smile caught my eye. She wasn't the same woman she'd been before the crash. None of us were, but there was peace in her face now, the kind that comes only after surviving something that should have broken you. For a moment, I just watched them. Emily passing the bread to her sister, Alicia rolling her eyes but smiling anyway. The clink of plates, the quiet rhythm of family finding its balance again. I looked at the photo hanging on the wall. The four of us, taken years ago, when everything was simpler. For the first time in months, it didn't feel like a memory of what we'd lost. It felt like a promise of what we could still become. Emily noticed me staring. "What are you thinking, Dad?" I smiled. "That I'm lucky." Alicia laughed softly. "You say that like it's a surprise." "Maybe it is," I said. "Maybe luck isn't about what we have. It's about who stays." Claire reached across the table and took my hand. Outside, the last light of the day slipped through the window, wrapping the room in gold. For a long time, none of us spoke. We didn't need to. The quiet meant something different now. Not grief, not fear, just gratitude. And as I looked at my family, I knew one truth would stay with me forever. Love can be wounded, betrayed, almost destroyed. But if you hold on long enough, it learns how to live again.